Hey everybody, it's Marissa Gilmore from Asperia Fitness Center, also Corporate Fitness Works. We are here to talk about nutrition. I am a certified nutrition coach through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, as well as a certified personal trainer. So, I'm going to go over our nutrition today and some of what it entails and how it can benefit towards the goals that you want to achieve. So, getting right into it. Our objectives for today are to understand strategies for weight management and how nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle behaviors all play a role. So our first step is to gain an understanding of weight management as a whole. So, weight management indicators. While weighing ourselves can keep us on track and is good for checking in with our progress, the number on the scale doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't tell of the muscle we're gaining, the more amount of water we're drinking, all those like good things that we are adding in. So when it comes to weight loss, what we really mean is fat loss. Due to muscle density increasing when we add in resistance exercise, weight on the scale may not always be the best indicator. Same thing when it comes to BMI. BMI, or your body mass index, only takes into consideration your height and your weight. So that's the ratio, how it's calculated. So for example, a bodybuilder with a lot of muscle, super low percent body fat can still qualify as overweight or obese, just because it's only taking into consideration that he's, 5'7" and 230 pounds. So next would be our circumferences. So our waist and our hip circumferences and our waist to hip ratio are important indicators of certain diseases such as diabetes or cardiovascular disease. Measuring upper arm and thigh circumferences are good indicators of muscle growth and fat loss. In a fitness assessment that you'll do with a personal trainer, you get one free with your membership, and then you're also doing them with this resolution restart. We typically measure the circumference of your neck, if you're comfortable with it, around your shoulders, your chest, arms, your waist, which is going to be around your belly button, your hips, which is going to be the largest part around your hips, your thighs, which is going to be the largest part around your thighs, up a little higher on those thighs, and then your calves, so the thickest part of those calves. Measuring your body composition distinguishes your lean body mass or your muscle mass from fat mass or body fat percentage. The in-body machine measurements, that if you choose to do those at the Supplement Superstore that we offer during this program, those do get a measurement of your lean body mass and your body fat percentage as well. So you can see that in actual numerical form through that mode of measurement. You can also take progress pictures. So progress pictures are going to give you good tangible evidence for differences being made, whether areas are getting more toned, areas are getting more muscular. You can see what areas are getting bigger or smaller. I usually recommend taking pictures every couple of weeks in the same lighting, same time of day. Try to wear the same type of outfit. This is all going to give you the best possible accuracy on what's actually happening with your body. And doing it every couple weeks or so is going to give your body enough time to start to make changes. So progress pictures are a great way of kind of measuring how progress is going. The best and easiest way to keep track of your weight management is definitely by how you feel, how your clothes are fitting, difference in those progress pictures. So how you're feeling, breaking that down to, am I more energized? Do I have less fatigue? Is doing things in life a little bit easier than it used to be? Is picking up my kids or picking up my dog to give them a bath a little bit easier than it used to be? Or is reaching stuff up on the top shelf a little bit easier, bending over and picking stuff up, that kind of stuff. And also, even pain-wise, are hips hurting less? Are our knees hurting less? All of those are great indicators to kind of keep track of as we are adding in our resistance training and watching what we eat and all that good stuff. So understanding weight management. So number one, let's look at our basal metabolic rate. So what that is, it also is our BMR. So breaks down BMR, basal metabolic rate. That's how much we burn at rest. So if you were to just sit around all day, not do literally anything, this is how much calories you would burn. This counts for about 60 to 75% of your total energy expenditure or your calorie burn. Many factors affect this number, such as your age, your gender, your underlying health conditions, and most importantly, your body composition. So we'll get a little bit more into this later, but what that means basically is that the more muscle that you have, the higher your metabolism, your basal metabolic rate is going to be. Your body utilizes a lot more energy to maintain that muscle mass, which is why you may notice sometime that if you don't use it, you lose it. So if you're not kind of consuming the amount of energy to maintain those muscles and you're not continuing to work them, then it's so much easier to lose those muscles than it is to gain it, because it just uses so much energy for your body to maintain that muscle, which is a good thing. Higher metabolism means we can burn fat a lot easier. The second one is going to be our TEA, our thermic effect of activity, which includes physical activity, sustained exercise. This can range from about 15 to 35% of your daily energy expenditure, depending on how physically active you are, how much you walk around, doing yard work, all that kind of stuff. So when it's done in longer periods of time and frequently, regularly, physical activity helps to maintain a healthy body weight and raise your basal metabolic rate. So what we just talked about, that resting rate. Number 3 is going to be the thermic effect of food, or TEF. That's the amount of energy that your body uses to digest and absorb the food that we eat. This only accounts for about 10% of your energy expenditure. Now, higher protein meals, which we'll get into protein a little bit later, they're going to have a higher thermic response than higher carb meals. So your body's going to utilize a lot more energy to digest and absorb protein than it is carbs. Carbs are our quick energy. They absorb quick, so that's your body's way of getting energy in fast. So it's going to absorb a lot faster, not going to take as much time, so not as much calories needed to break it down. So as you can see, the biggest variable in how many calories are expended each day is going to be your physical activity. Everyone has different weight management goals. We either want to maintain where we're at, gain, whether that's gaining weight or gaining muscle, or losing, weight loss. Energy in, if we're looking over to the right now in that energy balance, energy in refers to your daily calorie intake that you consume, while energy out refers to the components we just described there on the left in the pie graph, the TEA, TEF, BMR. That's going to be your energy out, the energy expenditure. You might hear me refer to it as expenditure as well. To maintain weight, energy in should equal your energy out. For weight gain, your energy should exceed your energy out, so we're eating more than we are burning. And for weight loss, your energy in, or what you're consuming, should be less than how many calories you are expending out. So let's get a little bit more depth into actual nutrition, breaking it down a little bit. So what is nutrition? So nutrients are substances needed for growth, metabolism, and other bodily functions. Breaking it down a little bit more, there's macronutrients, which are nutrients that provide calories. And calories are also, like we just kind of talked about, calories are also energy for your body. So a higher calorie meal is going to be a higher energy meal, because your body breaks down those calories for energy for your body to be able to do your daily processes. They're needed in large quantities, hence macro, large quantity. Micronutrients, on the other hand, are small nutrients. So they are needed in smaller quantities compared to macros, but are still essential to get from our diet in order for our body to efficiently utilize the nutrients we eat and carry on normal bodily processes. Even as little as your heart beating and breathing and digestion, your body needs these micronutrients to do even the simplest tasks. So the first thing in micronutrients is vitamins. So we all have heard vitamins, maybe take a multivitamin, or there may be vitamins that you focus on, like vitamin C to get a stronger immunity, vitamin D during this seasonal, as it gets colder, darker, wintertime. You may have heard of people taking vitamin D to kind of combat seasonal depression, since vitamin D comes from the sun and we're not getting as much sun. So it helps to regulate many bodily functions, including the digestive system, the nervous system. In that nervous system also includes your brain. Then we also have minerals, which are essential for numerous processes from bone formation to heart functions. They become part of the body. So both very, very important to get in. And then water, we all know water, trying to make sure we're getting in enough water. It's the basis for all your body fluids, cell processes, organ functions. As we know and we've learned throughout our years and through our schooling that your body's made up of at least 70% of water. So getting in that water intake each day, very important for just your body being able to function. So First Lady Michelle Obama and USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack released the federal government's new food icon, MyPlate. And it's to serve as a reminder to help consumers make healthier food choices. You may have seen this diagram before. So it's a new generation icon with the intent to prompt consumers to think about building a healthy plate at meal times. So focus on variety, amount, and nutrition, choosing foods and beverages with less saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars, starting with small changes to build healthier eating styles. And it supports healthy eating for everyone. It gives you those basic guidelines of what your plate should look like to be able to get in what your body really needs. MyPlate includes all the food groups, recognizing that each group serves a purpose to the health of our bodies. So let's explore each of the food groups and how they fit into the MyPlate guidelines. And as this quote says, everything you eat and drink matters. The right mix can help you be healthier now and in the future. So, kind of going off of that, the big reason why we look towards, the weight loss, the weight gain, the getting in vitamins and minerals, the nutrition, the exercise, all of that is geared towards making a higher quality of life. So making life happier, easier, better, adding more energy to your days, adding more life to your days. So it's not just all about like what size pants or what you look like, even though that is a big priority to a lot of us. We want to break it down to where we're taking care of our life for that quality of your life. So let's start with grains. So make at least half of your grains that you consume whole grains. So the whole grains are going to add a little bit more fiber to what you are consuming. Whole grains contain the entire grain kernel, the bran, the germ, the endosperm, and one serving of grains is about 1 ounce. So what that equals to is about 1 slice of bread, 1 cup of ready-to-eat oatmeal or ready-to-eat cereal, and half-cooked cup of rice or pasta. So for example, if you're eating 2,000 calories per day, then 6 ounces of grain is recommended, and 3 ounces of that should be whole grain. For example, ingredient list should say whole wheat, So don't be fooled by multigrain. You want to make sure that you're getting in the whole grain. Even checking the fiber content on the back, seeing that it has a good amount of fiber, at least 3 grams of fiber per serving. The bran of the grain contains the most fiber. The germ is going to have healthy fats and essential vitamins and minerals. The endosperm of the grain provides energy. The size of a small fist is about the size of 1 serving of cooked grain or cereal. So if you make that fist, that's the size that you kind of want to look for when you are dishing out your grains. So moving on, let's go to fruits and vegetables. So fruits and vegetables are commonly underconsumed in the standard American diet, and fruits and vegetables. And these are going to have your essential nutrients in it. You know, they're going to contain the majority of the nutrients that your body needs. Like potassium, that dietary fiber, choline, magnesium, calcium, vitamins A, D, E, and C, all the good vitamins that your body really needs to function. So the primary focus of the MyPlate is to fill half the plate with full range of color fruits and veggies. So you've probably heard people say, eat the rainbow. So just getting multiple colors of different fruits and veggies. Each color is going to have a different amount or a different type of vitamins and minerals in it. So as we know, like our citrus fruits, those are going to have, in our orange, it's going to have a lot more vitamin C, vitamin A, all that good stuff. Most are naturally low in fat, low in sodium, and low in calories. So you're getting a lot more bang for your buck with fruits and veggies. You know, you're able to add in more substance to your meals, make them more filling, make them stretch a little bit farther by adding in those fruits and those veggies. So adequate intake is known to actually reduce your risk of chronic diseases. So upping those fruits and veggies, getting in those nutrients, getting in that fiber is going to help prevent the risk of, you know, our cardiovascular disease, our diabetes, all those along those lines. And you can use fresh, frozen, canned, dried, or if you want to drink juice, using that 100% juice. Something to watch out for the juice, especially if you are juicing your own at home. The juice is going to not have any fiber in it, so it's going to have a higher glycemic index, meaning it's going to raise your blood sugar a lot quicker. And the fiber, having the fiber in it, is going to slow that digestion down so that it doesn't boost that blood sugar so quickly. So drinking juice is fine, just something to keep in mind, and not solely depend on juice. All varieties can be healthy. If you can, purchase fresh locally in the time, you know, in the season, and limiting time of travel and limiting the time that it's sitting in the store. So obviously apples from locally are going to be much better than apples that you're getting from California that have been sitting in Walmart for the last week. Buying plain frozen fruits or vegetables, but without added syrups or sauces. So just the plain frozen berries, frozen bananas, all that good stuff. That's typically what I tend to go with for me and my family, just because you can buy them, you know, they're not going to go bad quickly, but we still utilize them every day. If you are doing canned goods, make sure that you are rinsing your canned goods. Buy the fruit packed in water rather than in the syrup, and look for low sodium veggie options when you're going for that canned. Try to limit dried fruits to their serving sizes, as they're often higher in calories. Also, is taking out some of that fiber content as well. So it's going to be a little bit higher in sugar. And there's just so much more that can be packed in a smaller amount. So like raisins compared to grapes, you're going to get a whole handful of grapes when the raisins are probably just going to fit in the palm of your hand. Limit added sugars on those dried fruits or sweetened versions. And then when choosing juice, make sure it's 100% or making it on your own. Your examples are limitless. You know, there's so much out there. Bananas, your citrus fruits, pineapples, berries, apples, cauliflower and broccoli are a big one that I keep in my house, as well as Brussels sprouts, leafy greens, onions, tomatoes. You know, we season everything at my house with onion and garlic. You can even get health benefits from that. Wouldn't depend on it solely, but they do have something in there. Tomatoes, Brussels sprouts, like I mentioned before, bell peppers of all colors, just so much. So let's go ahead and move on to protein next. So we've covered those fruits and veggies and those grains, so covered the carbs, and getting into our protein. So protein requirements vary by your age, your gender, underlying health conditions, and level of physical activity. Those who are very active or going through growth phases, such as adolescents or pregnant, breastfeeding women, they might require more than the recommended minimum, which is 0.8 grams per kilogram per day. So as you add in your resistance training, as you are going through different phases of your life, even if you're going through surgery or healing from something, you may need a little bit higher protein than that recommended minimum. Eating from a variety of different protein sources from both plants and animals can ensure your body is getting a variety of amino acids or those protein building blocks. So those amino acids, that's what makes up a full protein. Your animal sources, fish, poultry, meats, eggs, dairy, even protein shakes, protein bars if you like those. And your plant sources, good ones, is beans, legumes, chickpeas, nuts and seeds. Whole grains are going to have some protein in there. And then tofu and edamame. Both the tofu and the edamame come from soybeans. Something to keep in mind with the plant sources is that, especially if you are going more a vegetarian or a vegan lifestyle, is that these are not going to have full, all the amino acids that it takes to create a complete protein. So they're incomplete proteins. So especially if you're doing that vegetarian lifestyle, be mindful, do some research on which foods would be good to pair together to get that complete protein, because otherwise your body's not able to utilize it until it has that complete protein. It's not able to rebuild and recover and build what we want to build without it being a complete protein. Your animal sources, they are going to be complete proteins always. Tofu is one plant-based source that is going to be that complete protein, but that's pretty much the only one. Other pairings that I know about, like brown rice and beans, I know peanut butter and whole grain toast are ones that you can bring together, but it's good to look up different things and pair it with what works in your lifestyle. If you're not a big peanut butter eater or anything like that, then you'll want to find what you can pair together to make that complete protein. Choose healthier cooking options. So we're looking for baked, broiled, roasted, or lightly grilled. We don't want to go towards the breaded or the fried, because obviously that's going to add more calories and kind of take away from the health benefits that you are getting from the protein. We need protein for growth and tissue repair, and that includes not only like your muscular tissue, like you're thinking, your biceps and your quads, your legs. It's not just for those muscles. Your organs are also made of muscle. So they're smooth muscle, which is slightly different than your, bicep muscle, but it's still muscle. Your heart is a muscle. Your bones utilize proteins. So all of this goes into more than just trying to get beefy, trying to get strong, trying to recover your muscles, all that good stuff. It goes into a lot more. We want to be able to keep those organs strong and your heart strong and giving your body the nutrients that it needs to continue to grow. So we don't really want to cut out necessarily any specific nutrient or anything like that because your body utilizes all of it. Protein can also be used for immune function. So your immunity uses it. Your bacteria in your gut uses protein. It's even essential for making hormones and making enzymes, which we all know hormones are big. We all go through different hormonal changes and all that kind of stuff. So protein is going to be really important for those hormones too. And basic one that we know, preserving lean muscle mass, and also helping you to continue to build it as we are exercising and as we are doing stuff in life. So even if you have like a week off of training or anything like that, you want to continue to keep that protein at a good solid level. So for example, like I took this last week off, did a little vacation, but wasn't really able to exercise, able to work out and weight lift like I normally would, just didn't have access to it. But still maintained a good solid amount of protein consumption, probably similar to what I would normally consume even when I am doing resistance training, because you want to be able to preserve that lean muscle mass. It's kind of like I mentioned earlier, if you're not taking care of it, you're going to lose it. It just takes a lot for that muscle to stay up, a lot of energy. It needs that protein to continue to rebuild. Your muscles are used all the time. So it's all about rebuilding and recovering from the breaking down that's happening through our daily life. So like I mentioned before, varying your protein sources, and then the bake, broil, roast, or grilled is preferred, especially when you are eating out at a restaurant, and we'll get more into that later. 1 serving of protein is about 1 ounce, which is equal to an egg, a 1/4 cup of beans cooked, a tablespoon of nut butter, 1/2 ounce of nuts or seeds, 1 ounce of meat or poultry or fish. A big rule of thumb that I kind of look for is that protein, they usually recommend having it in about 4 ounces. So 4 ounces is like a stack of cards, if you were to picture what a stack of cards kind of looks like. And 4 ounces can usually range, depending on how fatty the meat is, which we want to go for those leaner meats, is about like 20 to 25 grams of protein. So that's something to keep in mind as you're choosing what you eat throughout the day. Moving on to dairy, which as we mentioned before is a good protein source. So dairy products, you're looking at your milk, yogurt, cheese. They contain essential nutrients that support bone health, but also our overall health. We've got the calcium, potassium. Some milks are fortified with that vitamin D, riboflavin, phosphorus, zinc, choline, vitamin A, and more. So it's also got some more minerals in there, some electrolytes in there, some vitamin B's in there. It also provides carbohydrates for energy and, like I mentioned, protein for growth, repair. Also keeps you more full. Protein keeps you fuller for longer, and like I mentioned before, it takes longer for your body to digest it. So you're going to be satisfied for longer when you have that protein in there. Now, dairy does contain some amount of saturated fat, which is the fat known to increase the risk of cardiovascular disease, some cancers, diabetes. So we're looking to choose more the low fat or the fat-free options when it's available. Although dairy products are a quick and easy source of some of those key nutrients, these vitamins and minerals can also be found in non-dairy sources. So we're looking at soybeans, leafy greens, soy and nut milks can also be fortified with some of these vitamins and minerals, canned fish. Going for servings, 1 serving of dairy is equal to about 1 cup of milk, 8 ounces or a cup of yogurt, 1.5 ounces of hard cheese, also keeping in mind the fat content of that cheese and that yogurt, a 1/3 cup of shredded cheese, 1/2 cup of ricotta. Cottage cheese is a really good protein source. So 2 cups of cottage cheese, going for that lower fat option. And also, believe it or not, 1.5 cups of ice cream, although it should not be your frequented source to get your dairy servings in, as I'm sure that you can imagine. For the yogurt, a good recommendation is the non-fat or low-fat Greek yogurts. Look for the ones that are not high in added sugar. There's some that have added fiber in there as well. So one of my favorites is the Oikos, I think is how you pronounce it, Oikos, the 000. So it doesn't have any sugar, any added sugar. It doesn't have any fat in it, has an amazing amount of protein in it per serving, but also has a little bit of fiber in there as well. So that's one of my go-to snacks quite often. So then oils and other fat sources, they don't have a visual on the MyPlate, but they're mentioned as part of maintaining a balanced diet. So most of the time we're adding oils in while we're cooking, or there's natural oils that are included in our meats and our cheeses, added fats, all that kind of stuff. But the fats are necessary for making hormones, providing energy, regulating body temperature, providing cushion to our vital organs, and giving our foods flavor and texture, while also promoting that satisfaction, staying fuller longer. So we don't want to, completely cut out fat or anything like that, because like I mentioned, it does a lot in your body. So we're trying to choose mostly plant-based fat options, like our olive oils, avocado oil, sesame oil, our whole nuts and seeds, nut butters, avocado, olives. These provide our unsaturated fats and omega-3 fatty acids, which are actually known to benefit cardiovascular health, brain health, hormonal health, mental health, all that good stuff. So we're trying to limit our saturated fats that typically come from our fatty meats, skin of poultry, whole fat dairy, our cheese, our butter, all that good stuff. All the stuff that tastes better, we're trying to limit. But there's a good way to make healthy food taste really, really good. Research shows that diets including 20 to 35% of total calories coming from fat helps with weight management by promoting satiety. So providing that satisfaction, keeping you fuller longer. Lastly, we want to be mindful of daily sodium and added sugars. These are typically found in our processed and convenient foods, as well as takeout and restaurant foods. The easiest way to limit those added extra fats, the added sodium, the added sugars, is to cook at home and try to eat mostly our whole foods, like we talked about, our whole grains, fruits, veggies, meats, beans, all that good stuff. So let's go into our caloric breakdown. So I know that this is something that we're all either curious about, have thought about in the past. This is the recommendation for all weight management aspects, either to gain, to maintain, or to lose weight. The percentages won't change, but the overall caloric intake will. So caloric breakdown, the U.S. Dietary Guidelines recommend of your carbohydrates, 45 to 65% should be from your carbs, 10 to 35% should be from your protein, 20 to 35% should be from fat. So some facts to be mindful of when you are calculating out how much of these macronutrients that you should have per day. Protein, as we already mentioned, is critical for maintaining your lean body mass, regulating hunger, and maintaining overall calorie intake. So keep this in mind when you're considering your goals and how things are feeling nutritionally. And then carbohydrates are primarily used for providing energy for the body. They also include many essential nutrients and fiber, which enhances your abilities for your weight management. And then dietary fat is essential for survival and has many important functions in human bodies. It's a main source of energy. It's important for metabolizing fat-soluble vitamins, which are your vitamin A, vitamin D, E, and K. So without that fat, your body's not able to absorb those nutrients. And then it also provides heat insulation for the body, which is important. We don't want to freeze. So on to our next section here. So when estimating our caloric intake. So going back to that basal metabolic rate that we started at the beginning, that resting metabolism that we have. It's the amount of energy expended daily when your body is at rest, or the energy used for your basic functioning. So your breathing, your circulation, organ functions, your neurological functions, everything like that. So this equation that you see here on the slide is one of the more accurate methods of predicting and calculating out your basal metabolic rate. It's got about a 10% variance compared to other clinical equations. Keep in mind, your basal metabolic rate equations are an estimate and should be used as a baseline. There's methods out there such as something called the BOD-POD and indirect breathing tools, like calorie counting breathing tools that are administered in health profession settings if you want more accurate measurements. So if you're wanting something a lot more in-depth, look at going to a registered dietitian or even asking your health physician on what they would recommend, or if they're able to do any of that. So if you're interested, let's go ahead and take some time calculating our own basal metabolic rate. So find your gender. Women has a different calculation than men will. So I am going to calculate out for a standard 150-pound female who is 5'7". So you want to calculate out in kilograms and centimeters. So you'll need your weight to be converted from pounds to kilograms. So by doing that, you're dividing your pounds by 2.2. And then to get your height in centimeters, you'll take your inches and multiply that by 2.54. So if you happen to be 150 pounds, that's going to be 68 kilograms. And if you happen to be 5'7", your height in centimeters is going to be 170 centimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and calculate this out. So for a woman, basal metabolic rate, we have 9.99 times our weight in kilograms, which is that 68 kilograms, plus 6.25 times multiplied times our height in centimeters. So 170 centimeters minus 4.92 times our age. So let's just go with 30 years old. And then women, you are subtracting 161. So if you remember math in school, we're doing order of operations. So our PEMDAS, we're starting with our multiplying. So we're first going to multiply our 9.99 times our weight. So mine's at 68 kilograms. So then take that number, keep the decimals as well. Then we are multiplying our 6.25 times our height in centimeters. So I've got that 170. So we're adding that first number that we just calculated to this number. So I got 1062.5. And then we're putting our subtraction sign, doing 4.92 times our age. So I'm doing times 30. That gets me 147.6. And then minus, then writing out minus 161. So if you want to see visually how I did that, I don't know. See if you can. So I broke it down, did our multiplication first, then wrote it out with the addition and subtraction signs in between them. So now we just follow straight through that. So we do our first number, which is mine is 679.32, plus our second number, which mine is 1062.5, minus our third number, 147.6 for me, and then subtracting out the number provided, which for women it's subtracting 161. For men, you are adding on 5. So for me, for this 30-year-old, 150-pound, 5'7" female, my resting metabolic rate is 1,433. And that's how many calories that this individual would be burning just to function, just to survive. So once we got that calculated out, let's go ahead and go on to our next section. So if you needed to, you can go back, pause it, and finish calculating out. But here we are now predicting our total energy expenditure. So let's see, there we go. So what this means is we are getting how many calories estimating the calories that we actually burn throughout the day, including in our activity level. So let's determine what our physical activity factor is based on the descriptions on the table. Multiply it by that BMR number we just got for an estimate of your daily energy expenditure, that energy out. So sedentary, where you're getting little to no exercise, you're going to multiply times 1.2. If you're lightly active, you lightly exercise, maybe do some light sports 1 to 3 times per week. That would be 1.375. So I would see that as like sedentary, little to no exercise. I would consider that as like you're not really doing anything, but maybe you get quite a bit of walking around in your job, or you get a little bit of walking in your job. Lightly active would be if you're walking a good solid amount, like you're taking 30 minutes to an hour out of your day in that walking. You're adding in 1 to 3 times a week of exercising, but it's not necessarily, super intense exercising. Moderately active, you're multiplying times 1.55. So moderate exercise or sport, about 3 to 5 days per week. Then very active, you're doing harder exercise or getting in some sports 6 to 7 days per week, multiplying times 1.725. Then if you're extra active, you're doing very hard exercise sports, you've got a very physical job, or you are doubling up your training, so doing like 2 times a day of exercise, then you'd be multiplying times 1.9. For this example here, this individual that I'm calculating for, let's say they're sedentary, so little to no exercise, maybe getting in some walking in, but nothing scheduled, nothing for a long period of time. So we're going to multiply times 1.2. So we've got that basal metabolic rate times 1.2. For me, I got 1,719 for this individual for that daily expenditure. If you need a little bit more time, go ahead and pause. We're going to go on to the next step here. So we're going back to our slide considering the energy balances. So what are your goals? Are they weight loss, weight gain, or weight maintenance? Weight loss, you're going to be in that calorie deficit. This includes fat loss. So this is the only way to really lose fat, is to be in some kind of calorie deficit. Keep in mind that it may include some muscle loss as well, but muscle loss can be prevented through a higher protein intake and resistance training on a regular basis. If you're looking to maintain your weight, you're keeping calories equal to what we just calculated out, that total daily energy expenditure. You're more likely to gain muscle. Fat loss may come as muscle mass increases if we are including in our resistance training, but it would be a little bit slower in that fat loss. So something to keep in mind. And then weight gain, you are eating more than that number we calculated out. With resistance training, more muscle mass can be gained with eating in a little bit of a caloric surplus, so eating a little bit more calories than we burn. So keep in mind, figure out what goal it is that you really are wanting to gear towards. And then that's how you calculate out from there if you want to be less than that number, if we are doing our weight loss, staying at that number if we are doing that weight maintenance, or eating slightly above that number if we are wanting to gain that weight. So moving on past the numbers, once we calculated that out, this is how we should look to choose our foods. So we have nutrient dense and we have calorie dense. So nutrient dense foods are going to be our biggest bang for our buck. High quality, minimally processed, we're looking more towards our whole foods. Nutrient dense foods are going to be more likely to help you reach your goals more efficiently. We're looking at our fruits and veggies, our lean meats, our whole grains like our quinoa, barley, steel cut oats. Also looking for, when we are going for our lean meats, we are also looking at like salmon, tuna, eggs are a good one to incorporate in. We've also got like for our fruits and veggies and our whole grains, there's kale. We also got legumes for those carbs with the fiber in it. Seaweed is something fun to try. Non-starchy veggies, potatoes are a good carb, especially sweet potatoes, and eating the skins is going to have a little bit more fiber to it. Berries, dark chocolate are going to give us a little bit more nutrients. Oatmeal, whole grains, soy. Now flipping over to our calorie dense. Some of these foods may have some nutrients in them, but contain many calories in relation to volume. So we're thinking of our foods like our potato chips. They're going to contain a lot of empty calories, which means energy from calories without other significant nutritional values. So you're just getting calories, you're not getting any benefit from it. And so there's a time and a place for some calorie dense things, but going towards that nutrient dense is going to be more towards reaching your goals on a quicker level. Examples of these calorie dense foods are going to be your cakes, your cookies, your snacks, candies, cheeseburgers, fries, all that junk food, eating out, fast food type of stuff. It's not that you can't eat any of these at all. It's just we need to be mindful and limit how often we choose to eat them, and be mindful of our portion sizes, knowing that even just small amounts can add up to heavier calories. You can improve the calorie density of food by preparing with low-fat cooking techniques. So if you want that cheeseburger, go for a leaner meat of ground beef or ground turkey, lean ground turkey. Maybe cutting in half how much cheese that you'd be utilizing, not using a lot of oil or butter or anything when actually cooking it, just that kind of stuff to make it a little bit more nutrient dense, adding in your tomatoes and your onion and your lettuce to that cheeseburger, just that kind of stuff. Then let's talk about the difference between serving size and portion size. So there is a difference. What we serve ourselves or what we choose to eat may or may not be what the recommended serving size is. So that serving size listed on nutrition facts labels is based on the amount of food that individuals are typically thought to eat during one sitting. It's not a recommended or suggested serving size of the product. It's for informational purposes only. So when it comes to pasta, the serving size, I believe, is 2 ounces typically for a pasta. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to only eat 2 ounces. That's just something to help you be informed when you are choosing how much that you are eating. The portion is the actual amount of food that you eat, which could be more or less than one serving size. Portion size will also depend on several factors, such as your individual's calorie needs, so specifically for you, what your calorie needs are, your activity level, or on the type of meal being consumed, so breakfast, lunch, dinner, or a snack. For your snack, you're more than likely not eating the same portion size that you would for dinner. Let's talk about portion distortion. Restaurant portions are typically well over the recommended serving size. Store-bought items, baked goods, beverage containers, and more all have increased in portion over the last few decades. And I'm sure that you've seen those graphics where, like since the 50s, how McDonald's serving sizes has changed from here to now. You know, a large used to be the size of what a medium or a small is nowadays, and we're consuming, you know, our Route 44s or our big gulps or anything like that of our drinks, our sodas. So things have definitely changed. Okay, so let's look at our portions. So for our food, our non-starchy vegetables, fresh fruit, juice, like we talked about before, we're looking at a cup. So looking at kind of fist size. For our rice, pasta, starchy veggies, 1 ounces. So we're looking at like a half cup, size of about a tennis ball or a small cupped hand. So if you take your hand, put the amount of rice or grains in there, that's about that serving size. Meat, poultry, or fish, 3 to 4 ounces. Talked about the deck of cards or also the palm of your hand, something that you can have on you at all times. You got your hand, that nice tool that's going to help you measure out your food. Nut butters, this is one that can go overboard quite quickly. Talking from personal experience, nut butters, you're looking at the size of your thumb. So that little tool there, 1 tablespoon is about that recommended serving size for that. Natural cheeses, looking at about 1 ounce, so that's about the size of 3 dice or about the size of your thumb as well. Then we got our oils, 1 teaspoon, looking at the size of a postage stamp, or if we're using that Hanford tool, the tip of your pointer finger. So kind of that first break off there of that finger. And then moving on. So we just talked about the portion sizes that restaurants are utilizing nowadays, and it's not something to be scared of, just something to be mindful of. So dining out can still fit into a weight management plan, but it's important to have some tools in place when you're making your choices. So if your goals are weight loss, you're looking for lighter cooking methods. We're looking for that baked, that roasted, poached, broiled, that grilled. Limit foods that are described with words like cheesy, gravy, smothered, creamed, fried, and special sauces. Most restaurants have nutrition information accessible online. So look up your healthy choices before arriving so that you are prepared. Be the first to order so that you're not tempted to change your mind based on other meals sounding good that other people are ordering. You can split a meal with a friend or divide out half to eat now and save the rest for later. You can ask for a to-go box ahead of time while you are ordering so that you can divide it out at the beginning, close it up, eat your half that time and save the half for later. Ask for your food to be made without the butter, the sauces, and request dressings on the side. Ask the server to remove temptations such as chips and salsa or bread and butter, or limit yourself. You know, I know a lot of people that once the salsa's gone, they're not eating any more chips. They're not requesting more salsa, more chips, or anything like that. And know that most portions are over the recommended serving size. So like I said, ask for that to-go box at the beginning, and now you have, you know, 2 or 3 meals out of 1 meal that you paid for, so it's better bang for your buck at that point too. If your goals are weight gain or muscle gain, you're looking for higher calorie foods that are still nutrient dense. So that doesn't mean we go straight for the burgers and fries. Don't go straight for the the stack of the onion rings and the milkshakes, you still want it to have good nutrients in it if we're wanting to gain that weight healthily and still prevent those chronic diseases. So like guacamole, avocados, olives, nuts, and seeds, those are all going to be good nutrient dense, but also calorie dense options. Starchy vegetables like our roasted potatoes, corn on the cob, dense foods like whole grain breads, high fiber cereals, hearty soups, hearty nuts, choosing healthy unsaturated fats, olive oil, peanut butter, nut butters, avocados like I mentioned before. Keep focus on muscle mass when you are doing your weight gain, not gaining extra fat. So alcohol, added sugars, processed carbs, sweets, candies, processed meats like bologna, pastrami, and bacon can all lead to increased fat mass if consumed in excess. Also increases your risk for those cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, those chronic diseases that we obviously want to try and avoid. You can request additions such as extra vinaigrette on the sides of dressings. When you get your salads, add nuts and seeds to your salads, side of extra vegetables, add avocado to your soup or your salads. Good options like that. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to lifestyle behaviors for our weight management. Choosing a healthy lifestyle means balancing daily choices that support and encourage weight management and your goals. Additional lifestyle components can help you be successful. Research shows that breakfast eaters actually end up eating less over the course of the day and are less likely to overeat at lunch and dinner. Include adequate protein in your breakfast and begin the day with 16 ounces of water. Nutrient-dense foods are often lower in calories and higher in fiber, contributing to more satisfaction for longer. Choose whole foods, cook at home more often to control the sources of your calories. Third one, create a healthy environment. Create an environment of health for yourself. Keep your surroundings free of your temptations. Spend time with those who support you in your health initiative. Support someone else on their health journey. Get the tools or equipment you need for your health goals, whether that's cooking utensils, a meal planner, even hiring a registered dietitian or a personal trainer, which we have here at Hesperia Fitness Center, and your home exercise equipment. So you've always got the tools ready so that you can stay accountable, so that you can continue to progress. Number 4, be accountable. Enlist a trusted friend or loved one to hold you accountable. Tell those you love and your coworkers about your goals. Join a like-minded support group. It is proven that once you tell people about your goals, especially people that are important to you, that you are more likely to stay accountable. Making sure we're getting adequate sleep, 7 to 8 hours per night if you can. Sleep affects our hunger hormone. So if we're not getting enough sleep, it leads to higher food cravings, overeating, and then also, if we don't get enough sleep, we're cranky, we are tired, we may be emotional. That can lead to that stress eating as well. So more sleep equals better nutrition, better accountability, all that good stuff. Better days. Next one, set goals and make a plan. So both short-term and long-term goals. So we want to think SMART goals. So we went over this in our kickoff party, but we have our specific goals, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So making sure we're following along when we're setting up those goals, making sure it hits all those criteria. Some examples of that is menu planning a week in advance, even if it's just for one meal, that dinner, meal prepping, even if it's just snacks to go. Like one of my big ones is making protein balls. So I know that if I eat a couple of those, they'll keep me satisfied for a little bit until I can have my next meal. But I know that I'm still getting in my whole grains with that, with the oatmeal, the nut butter, which is getting me some protein, some nutrients, some healthy fats, and protein powder in there as well. And it's keeping my energy up, and we're not having that high and then that crash, high crash. We want to keep sustained throughout the day. You can prepare your healthy meals ahead of time and freeze. I know it was a big thing the last few years of people pre-making like crock pot meals in a bag and freezing them, and then just throwing all of that into the crock pot, turning the crock pot on, and it's good to go. And then plan your day around your goals and make time for your healthy eating and your exercise. So setting those appointments with yourself to make sure that this stuff gets done. With one of my clients, something that I helped them set up was one of their goals was to eat more fruits and vegetables. So we broke it down to even the time and the day that they are going to sit down and prep their veggies. So, you know, it was Monday afternoon that worked the best for them, that they were going to literally make that appointment for themselves to get that prepping done, so that we knew it was going to happen and that it was in that time slot, not, you know, I'll do it this weekend. Well, stuff happens, you know. So the more that you can set in a specific time and a specific time frame, the better it's going to be for you to achieve those goals and to stay accountable. So now, staying on track. Here's some tips to help you stay on track with your weight management. So those SMART goals that we just talked about, helping to keep you motivated, have both those short-term, you know, daily or weekly goals, and then your long-term goals, which are, you know, in months or in years. Strategize how you're going to prepare for triggers, for barriers, cues, and bad habits. Are your daily choices leading you toward or away from your goals? Number 3, increase your non-exercise activity by moving more, park farther away, take the stairs, keep food upstairs or downstairs. Keep consistent scheduled exercise sessions to make it a habit. Next one, beat meal boredom by trying new foods, look for new recipes, and get creative in the kitchen, making eating nutrition foods fun and tasty. Have a morning routine that sets the tone for the day, including in meditation, even if it's just for 5 minutes, a short walk, some light stretching, some time to write down your goals or what you're grateful for, and an evening time routine can ensure a better night's sleep, so you're ready for the next day. Limit screens an hour before bed, drink some herbal tea, spend time with your loved ones, read a good book, incorporating in that stretching and meditating in at that time maybe as well. Journaling helps keep us accountable and helps us track our progress. So in your success packet, we do have a section for you to journal if you want to utilize that section, and also a habit tracker. So rather than weighing ourselves daily, we can assess how we feel and note any changes in our body composition with our measurements, our fitness assessments, but also in the way that our clothes fit. So taking mind of that kind of stuff, and taking mind of, you know, I had to lift a box today and it was a lot easier than it used to be, or I bent down to tie my shoes and it was a lot less of a task than it was a month ago. So those kinds of things are huge to write down, so that you can really realize the progress that you're making, and you can realize, man, I actually am making some progress. Sometimes it gets hard, and sometimes we forget how good of a job we're doing, so it's good to have that tangible evidence that we are doing a good job. So let's break it down one more time. So what's our goal? Weight loss, weight gain, or maintaining. So if we're going for that weight loss, remember that our energy in needs to be less than our energy that we are expending. there's a 500 calorie deficit theory. Creating a 500 calorie deficit per day, or reducing your caloric intake, or increasing your expenditure through exercise may create a 1 pound per week weight loss. So it just calculates out, it takes 3,500 calories to burn 1 pound of fat. So for burning 500 extra a day, that creates 1 pound per week of fat loss. Avoid super restrictive calorie intake, as the body may go into a starvation mode, and rather than dropping weight, it will feel the need to hold on to calories for survival. So if you're dropping your weight excessively, your body is going to freak out. It's going to be like, I don't know when I'm going to get my next meal. So we need to hold on to our fat, which is our energy conservation, because it doesn't know when it's going to get energy through our food next. So it's holding on to every energy that it can for survival. Your body is always looking for survival. And some individuals don't do well with deficits, and that's perfectly fine. We can still lose weight by not being in an extreme deficit. So even if that 500 calories feels like a lot, that is perfectly fine. Don't do the 500 calories, and we can always walk a little bit more. We can always increase our training a little bit more. There's always things that can be done. Women typically need 1,600 to 2,000 calories a day, depending on your age and your activity level. Men typically need 2,000 to 2,600 calories a day. Obviously, that depends on each individual, and calculating it out like we just did is going to be a lot better than just some general recommendations. So that's why we calculated it out, so that you'll know specifically what it is that your body needs on a more individualized basis. Then if our goal is that weight gain, our calories consumed exceeds the calorie total expenditure. So making sure we're focusing on gaining muscle mass, not extra fat. So continuing on that extra resistance training with our weights or our bands, or adding in our group exercise classes, and not just going straight for as many calories as we can, not gaining extra fat. Focus on your quality of food rather than your quantity. Eat both nutrient-dense and calorie-dense foods, such as your fatty fish, nuts, seeds, your nut butters, avocado, oils, your meats, everything like that. Some tools for success. A registered dietitian is an expert in nutrition. Registered dietitians are required to go through extensive schooling, supervised internship, and take a national exam. There's also a nutritionist who's not required to have any extra extensive schooling. But they do have to have, like for me, for example, I am a certified nutrition coach. I also have my bachelor's degree in exercise science, which included nutrition as well, and also certified personal trainer, where we went over nutrition as well. But if you're needing more in-depth or more individualized, more specialized towards certain maybe diseases, or something a little bit heavier than something that I could provide, then a registered dietitian would be your go-to. So also food and exercise journaling apps. So you could get MyFitnessPal, Fitbit, your Apple Health. All those are going to help with your tracking, so you can track through those. MyFitnessPal, you can track your calories, track your food. It also will show you your macros, like your carbs, fat, and your protein, as well as your micronutrients, so your vitamins, minerals, all that good stuff. There are certain dining out apps that you can use, such as Food Tripping, Healthy Out, and In Bloom, that can help you with those dining out situations. If you're wanting to start simple without the carbs, or without the calorie tracking and everything, just start simple with following what the MyPlate recommended, and they do have a MyPlate app, or you can go to choosemyplate.gov. just, trying to add in the recommended amount of protein, carbs, the dairy, the fruits and veggies, all that good stuff. You can also, like it says at the bottom, connect with an expert. We already talked about the registered dietitian and the nutritionist. There's a link right there if you're wanting to find one. You can also talk to a personal trainer. We have 5 trainers on board at Aspiria Fitness. Like I mentioned, myself included. Not all of us are certified in nutrition. I am the only one as of right now, but all of us do have some nutrition in our education. And it's also okay if you feel like you need to talk more with like a behavioral therapist. It's okay to get mental and emotional help if you think other factors in your life are affecting your ability to be successful with your health goals. So that's also something to keep in mind. Here are the resources. Also used the National Academy of Sports Medicine, which is where the certification of mine came through. But if you want to look more into the Choose My Plate, that link is right there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Feel free to email. My email is right here on this last slide. But I really appreciate you sticking through this with me. I know that we went a little bit over an hour and I talked a lot, but a lot of good information, a lot of important stuff in there. And hopefully, I kind of helped break some misconceptions that you may have had about nutrition or some questions. But always feel free to reach out and ask questions if you need it, or if you need any extra help or any extra information that I may not have covered. All right, thank you guys. See you in the next one.